Hello, welcome to the Brahma Kumari's meditation series, where we are trying in the next, hopefully next few months and beyond, to just bring you a lot of subjects and issues and themes that we have learned over the years. And tonight, I'm going to be talking about overcoming obstacles. And I remember I began studying with the Brahma Kumaris about 30, almost 35 years ago. God, where'd the time go? I can't even believe 35 years soon. And I was the student. I loved being the student. I loved being the one to go to the classes along with everybody else and learn from some great teachers and meditating and studying. And then I would bring people to my house. I would have gatherings, which I still do, although now we're going online as well. And I bring people to gatherings. I'd help organize. And I never, ever wanted to facilitate. I didn't want to teach. And I just could say, no, not me. I'll coordinate. I'll work behind the scenes. And I also had been producer and host of WLRN public television for my career. But I really didn't want to do this with meditation. And then what happened one day was I would have a teacher. The teacher left. And then we'd have another went out west. And then another teacher, I remember he moved to England, and that would happen. And one day I realized there was going to be no teacher to come to my house and host the weekly gatherings. And I meditated on it. I thought about it, and there was just nobody available at the time. And I realized the value that meditation classes, and this is going back years, 15, 20 years ago, I realized the value of all of this, in terms of life. And it's certainly a lot even more important today. And what I came to was, okay, I have to I didn't say it then like this, but overcome this obstacle, this fear of getting up and speaking about meditation to people. And if I can't do it, there's nobody else to do it. And so I have been giving classes over the last, 15 years, something like that. And again, I realize the value of all of this in terms of today's society. When we first began, when I first studied years ago, the teachers and the seniors would say to us, that the time is going to come when people really need this. And I'd go, really? I love this, but is everybody out there going to want this meditation and spirituality? And because the world wasn't so bad at that time, I didn't really feel there was some great need for it. I liked it, but I didn't think everybody out there was going to be interested or need something like this. And what I have found over the years, and honestly over the last few months, more so than ever, is that there's such a great need for a spiritual thinking, a different way of thinking, reflecting, and a new approach to living, which we certainly are faced with now, as we are faced with so many obstacles today. And I feel as if it's like one obstacle after another obstacle after another obstacle. It's always something just comes and hits you, and you think, okay. And, especially when we see what's happening with so many people and so much suffering, it's like you just wonder, when is it going to end? How is it going to end? And in terms of, hopefully that end in a positive way. And I think the positive way is the way we think and the way we live. And that's why I want to share with you somewhat about what I have learned over the last years. And so we're going to be talking about overcoming obstacles. And obstacles to me are these roadblocks. All of a sudden something comes to you in your life, you're going along and everything seems fine and everything seems good. And then all of a sudden you get hit with something that you feel, it could be a big obstacle, or it can be, something even tiny, and you make it into it. Or I know I can make it into a big obstacle. And I have over the years, something so small, something so minute, and it takes over my thoughts. And so to begin with, I really feel that to begin to overcome any obstacles that you're facing or that we're facing in our lives, is that we have to be able to look within, go into what we call in Raja Yoga is into silence, really the power of silence to just stop the thoughts. It's very difficult to stop the thoughts. In fact, you can't really stop them totally, but to slow down the thoughts and begin to work with your thoughts, so your thoughts aren't ridden with fear and worry and being upset and what's going to happen. And remember, there was one of our students who was also a teacher years ago, and he would say that when we start to have a problem in life, we would start to spin. Our mind would spin so much that we would just like spin off kilter. And that's what happens. We're out of control. And I'm seeing that happen now. All it takes is one person saying something about what's happening, in the world and what's happening with what we're all going through with this like horrendous virus. And all of a sudden the fear sets in. So obstacles often can bring on, if we don't handle obstacles in the correct way, they can bring on so much fear and so much like a fear of the unknown and a fear and a worry where we begin to worry about things that really don't even exist. And I've often heard that said, and I'm sure you have too, is that often the things that we worry most about aren't necessarily the things that come to us, that it's suddenly something totally different and we have to deal with that. So as we go within and we really get in touch with our silent, our peaceful selves, our most peaceful, calm selves, we can be able to be more detached and we're able to look at the problem, look at what it is that obstacle is, that, that difficult moment or that situation, look at it and see it. And as we observe it, understand it better. If we're caught up, we can't, if we're just caught up, we're spinning and we can't even think properly. We just get, that anxiety and that feeling of, God, you almost like you can't breathe. And so I'm thinking right now would be a good time to breathe, to just sit here for a moment, and then we're gonna do a meditation commentary with one of our most beloved teachers, Anthony Strano. But I think right now, let's just breathe. Just breathe in, hold it, and then breathe out. Get rid of the negative energy and anything, the fearful energy, all the stuff, that builds up within us, and just release, as one of our meditation teachers often says, release in peace. And let's breathe one more time, and then we'll start this meditation commentary led by Anthony Strano. So again, breathe in, hold it, breathe out, and just relax. It's good to do this before you meditate if possible. Not everybody does, but I think it's good to do it right before and do it more, hold on it more. And then also do more of these breathing in, breathing out. And I know a lot of you probably already do it, and it's good to do it, for some amount, a few minutes, so you can just begin to clear your head and clear your body and get in touch with that inner core. I feel like it is all about the core, In exercise today, the core is such a big deal, core strength and strengthening your core. But our true inner core is our soul, our spirit, of going within and being in touch with ourselves as souls and being in touch with ourselves as spiritual energy. And then we can begin to just see things differently. We can begin to just have like a whole new a way of living and a whole new way of thinking, which is what I think is happening today. I feel that this is actually forcing us all into thinking differently. And we need new tools, because the tools that we've used, I think, are over the years to deal with life. They're not, I don't think they're good enough anymore, unless we had some good tools. Luckily, maybe we learned them from somewhere, maybe we meditated or we had parents that taught us, but mostly, excuse me, mostly, I think we're now at a point where we have to learn new ways of thinking, and a new way, not just of thinking, but a new way of being, of living. We're already doing it, right? With, the scary stuff that's going on and the horrendous stuff that's going on. But I think bring it to another level, a totally different level of new ways of communicating, new ways of feeling. And so why don't we start on some commentary right now? Okay.
The fear of the future, the fear of failure, the fear of others, the fear of sickness, the fear of death, the fear of difficulties, even the fear of my own self. How to overcome fear is usually through having understanding and trust, but especially realizing that everything that happens has a benefit. And so it's of no use to be afraid or even complain of the past or to over-focus on what's wrong, and just to live in the present moment with faith. Fear has two sisters, doubt and worry. Sometimes these three things are compared to dragons in the mind. Fear, doubt, and worry, when they are all together, bring me out of balance and I lose my sense. And I am overcome by negativity. And instead of trusting, instead of communicating, instead of accepting, I become stagnant. I become even impulsive and start to act and think even irrationally. I have to let go of fear, because too much fear makes me imagine too many things. I need to talk to myself, because fear makes me waste a lot of energy. Let me talk to myself and realize that I must now become a student of life. Let me have a learning consciousness, and that everything that happens in life and to me has a hidden benefit. When there are crises in life, it is actually a time also for new opportunities. If I am able to step back and not identify with what's wrong, if I am able to keep myself calm and trusting inside, then I'm able to communicate with the situation. I'm able to communicate with my own thoughts and tell them, let's see, let's wait. Not to judge too quickly or too easily that something is negative, that something can't work. Everything can work. It needs its time, and it needs the cooperation of my faith, the cooperation of my confidence and trust. When we accept what we don't like, when we accept it, then we start to open to find solutions. Things don't become barriers anymore. People don't become my enemies. All are my friends. I don't have any enemies. And instead of walls, I start to build bridges. Every day, let me build a bridge. Every day, let me destroy a wall rather than making it higher and thicker. Let me stop that type of building and realize that when I reach the hearts of others, then they open. When I stop disliking, rejecting, and yes, even fearing others, I emerge a positivity within them, and they build a bridge towards me. Instead of fear, let me have faith. The power of faith enables me to have a vision of what's good, of what's possible. And when I have a vision that is an understanding of what is good, of what is possible, let me remain with that in my mind. Let me hold that positive vision. It doesn't matter if I do not understand how it will happen, when it will happen, can it happen. If I hold that positive vision within my mind, gradually it will start to materialize in my life. All things are possible to those who have this power of faith. And very easily faith cancels not only fear but doubt and worry. Let me live a moment at a time. Let me live in the present, not in the past, not in exaggeration, not in the opinion of others, not in what could be or should be or must be. Just let me live in respect of the moment.
Well, I feel that after listening to him, I could overcome a lot of obstacles, that I've either faced in my lifetime or, in the future. Every word that he says is just packed with it's not just words, it's a feeling, it's a way of thinking, it's a way of living. And again, I feel that that's where our challenge is today, is to be able to think differently, to think so positively, that everything somehow is going to work out. And the more that you think like this, and the more that you bring this to you, it just starts to happen, where you just start to bring goodness into your life, and you bring special people into your life, and people that help you, and people that cooperate with you, and you cooperate with them. And it just begins to create something that is, even in times of such difficulty, you see the love and you see the goodness of humanity. And I remember years ago when there was Hurricane Andrew in Miami, and that was a big shift, a big change. And maybe we could look back now and say, well, it wasn't so bad then compared to what we're going through now. But at the time, it was bad. And I ran into somebody who was an assistant, personal assistant to somebody who was head of a very big company in South Florida. And I said, how's it going at the office? And she said, well, she said, I actually liked it after the hurricane. She said, when, those few weeks or months where people were actually so nice to each other and so good to each other and treated each other so well. And then when they got back into their routine and into life, they forgot what they learned. And so I think the time now is to be able to keep that feeling of that we're all connected, that we're all brothers, we're all souls, we're all spiritual energy, and that not to build these walls against this person or that person or this country. And, you might look at the world and go, well, that's not what's happening in politics, or that's not what's happening with people, but you can do it and I can do it. And I think that that's how the change happens, one by one by one, creating that atmosphere. When I was in the grocery store just recently, I just noticed a few things, and I don't even want to talk about them because they weren't so nice, that I saw, people being really angry and irritated. Someone was actually got angry at me because I was wearing a mask, and she felt that people don't need to wear masks unless they're sick. Those kinds of things were happening. And I found myself reacting. And so what I've been thinking about, reflecting upon since that happened was, now let me, when I go to the grocery store, even with the mask, if I choose to wear a mask, is to, even just with my eyes, just smile, smile at people, and send out that vibration, and send out that a feeling of well-being and goodness, and a feeling of, just again, that even if we're in the grocery store and people are staying 6 feet apart from each other, to just treat everybody. And we can't always do it with words. We can't do it even if they can't see our faces now, we're covered up, but we can do it with our vibrations and with our positive energy. And that's a way, a little way to, to just to help overcome all of the obstacles that we face, and to just be aware, of the influence I always feel for myself, of how am I influencing other people? Am I sending out a negative vibe? Am I feeling rushed, or am I feeling really worried? What I've noticed is that when other people start to create worrying thoughts, then suddenly I can lose my sense of well-being. All of a sudden I hear people talking about something that's going to happen, and it didn't happen to me, and it could happen, but suddenly the worry sets in and the doubt sets in. So pay attention, excuse me, pay attention to what is going on inside there, inside you. What is it that's causing even the beginning of an obstacle? Because an obstacle doesn't just happen. An obstacle comes to me from continued negative thinking. And we just did a workshop at the center over the last year. We've done a few of them. And I was in India where I learned about this workshop on self-esteem. And they talked about ANT. And ANT stands for automatic negative thinking. And ANT, or automatic negative thinking, is suddenly something, you hear something, or you do something, or you think of something, and suddenly your thinking becomes negative, and you can't even stop those negative thoughts. They just take over. They take over your head. They just, so to be aware of when suddenly something trips you up and you begin to be negative, and it was just something someone said, like the person in the grocery store. It could be something someone did to you. It just could be your own mind, your own worrying. You know, I just came back from India where I was at a meditation retreat, and I was actually with a group of people that were there. When we got there, nothing was happening in India in terms of, the worry about the virus. It seemed very minimal at the time, but, as time went on, of course, more was discovered. And as we were meditating there and studying there on top of a mountain, people started to talk about, what if we couldn't get home? What if we couldn't get back? And I noticed myself that the fear started to set in. As much as I love being there, I didn't know if I wanted to be there, indefinitely. And I started to worry. And I had to stop myself. I had to really say, okay, put a full stop, make a decision. Either you're going to stay or you're going to go back a little early. Make a decision. Don't just keep thinking about it. And every time I'd see someone, not everyone, but it was still an atmosphere of a lot of peace and a lot of love. So I can't, I'm not trying to say that it took over everybody, but it was part, people were thinking about these things. And once I made the decision, and I actually decided, okay, a few days early I would leave, I was fine. I had been there for a while, so I was good, and I had gotten what I felt spiritually that I needed, but not to create these obstacles where, we get so caught up in worrying and fear, and even just this insecurity that sets in. So I feel that when we become aware of this happening to us, I think it's a really, really good thing to be able to just look at our lives, or for myself, look at my life and just say, stop, just stop it, like full stop. And that's hard to do when you're in the middle of life and you're all caught up. It's the best way to do it is, again, through meditation. Go into your silent place, your happy, peaceful place, spend some time with yourself, get in touch with your emotions, what you're feeling emotionally, because I feel that what we're feeling emotionally is what we have to work on. First, we detach and observe, but then we have to get in touch with our emotions. And if we're feeling sad or we're feeling upset, look at it, see it. And then what I do personally is I release it like a balloon. I just feel that sad feeling or whatever, and I give it, I just give it out to the universe, for me, to God, and I just say, take it. And I just see it as a balloon just floating away from my life. And usually after a really good, powerful meditation, something happens, something changes inside me, and I can feel as it might not happen immediately, but in pretty quickly it resolves, the issue resolves. And then again, there's this feeling that I can experience of just benefit, and as Anthony was talking about in the meditation, benefit, that everything has benefit. And I think, again, we need to look at what's happening in the world today and just say, as horrible as it is, what benefit is there? You know, it is bringing the world closer together and a realization that we're all connected. It is, as we were saying earlier, as I was saying, bringing people closer. It's the seeing of heroes, of people, whether it's the medical people, the nurses, the healthcare workers, the doctors. Just, I mean, look, they're the heroes to me of this, of this mega beyond mega obstacle that the world is facing together. But to see, see the goodness and appreciate the goodness, because our minds can get so caught up in seeing what's bad and seeing how horrible everything is. And so I think we really have to be diligent and really be in charge of ourselves, of our lives, not be influenced by others, what others are saying or doing. I know myself, that's often what happens. I get influenced, as I was saying. But the other side of seeing people is, of people, the influence of people is the good influence of people. And I mean that sometimes when I've had a problem in life and I've faced an obstacle that I just can't seem to deal with just through my meditation or, getting in touch with what I'm feeling, I often find somebody, and I don't always know who it's going to be, though I have a couple of them in my life, more than one or two. And maybe have a little chit chat with somebody. And again, it's not about telling the whole world your problems, but maybe pick one person that you value what they have to say, and might give you sometimes like another way of looking at your life and another way of looking at what you need to deal with. And often they are the ones that can give me the answer that I just couldn't see in myself. And I thank those people, in my heart, just that there are people in my life that can kind of guide me and make me see, you're not thinking correctly, or, what's going on with you. Sometimes it hurts, it hurts for somebody to look at you and see something in you that you're not seeing, because, when we face obstacles, we love to be the victim. And the victim is, oh, woe is me. Look how terrible that person was. That person is just, really the worst. And I'm the good guy, or the look at the companies maybe that we don't like, whatever, or the people, or the, political people, whatever we pick, and we become the victim. And to again be aware. It's so much awareness when we start to change the way we think. Awareness plus introspection and a feeling of goodness, and a feeling of that all is well and that everything in our lives is going to be good. Someone was telling me about a book, and I haven't read the book, but I like the title. I think it's called Lucky, or something like that, and it's maybe chronicles the lives of people who just seem to be lucky, and there's people you look at their lives and wow, everything good happened to them. But of course we know everybody's got their situations and their obstacles in life, and we never really want to be like somebody else. We really do want our own lives. As one of our teachers, Veronica, always says, if you had to trade with someone because you think their life is so much better than yours, you really wouldn't. You would really want to be yourself, and you really are happy with your own life, even though we can't admit it or we don't even understand it sometimes. There's probably not one person in the world, if we were really faced with, okay, let's switch lives. I think some movies have been made like this, right? Um, we wouldn't want to be anybody but ourselves. And so the key is to just really appreciate yourself, appreciate your life, even when things are in disarray as they are now or uncertain, but know that somehow things will work out. There will be there will be helpers, as Mr. Rogers used to say. Look for the helpers in life, the people that are helping. But there'll be people who come to help you even without you asking, just at the right moment. I remember a few months ago, my husband had an accident in the house and had a terrible fall. And unfortunately, it didn't result in something very good. He passed away some months later, but I didn't know how I was going to get him to the hospital because I wanted him to go to a hospital where his doctors were. And I knew that they wouldn't be able to take him to that hospital. It was farther away. And I was struggling to try to get him, carry him myself. And then suddenly, uh, a man from a carpet company showed up to bring our carpet that had been cleaned there. And he told me he had been a nurse aide and he could help me. And he got him ready. He got him cleaned up, and he helped. Actually basically carried him to the car. And it was like, it was unbelievable. I mean, there's those moments where it's like there are angels out there. I didn't even know that he was coming that morning. I thought I had canceled him, and canceled his coming because of what was going on. And then he showed up. And so be aware of the angels, and it could be little things in life. It doesn't have to be big things, but these are the ways to me that we can overcome obstacles, and the way that we can think in just a beautiful way, where life is beautiful, even with the terrible, again, those big obstacles that so many of us are, we're all faced with them. We don't even know what tomorrow will bring, but we're here for a reason, every one of us. And there's some special reason. We all have a purpose. And so we want to get in touch with that purpose, because that'll keep us going. That'll help us in life, direct us and give us, that purpose is what brings everything together and gives us the energy to go on. There was a nurse that was being interviewed, and many of you probably saw her or heard her, but she said they asked her what's kept her going on in a hospital with so many with the virus, and she's taking care of so many. She has seen so many died. She's a young nurse, and she said, my faith, my faith. I think she said her family too, but I remember the faith, the faith and family. But my faith is what's kept me going. And what is faith? It's a belief in something higher. It's your purpose. It's your core purpose in life, And if you haven't yet got in touch with that purpose, then think about it, reflect on it. So I would just like to spend the last few minutes that we have together and just think, about who you are and why you're here, and to just let me see myself as the one who overcomes all obstacles. Let me see myself as the one that is here to give and not to take, and not to be upset or just so unnerved by what's happening that I'm contributing to the problem and not the solution. Let me be like an angel in training, someone that's here to help. And every day I can just take a look at my life and say, who can I help? What can I do? And I don't even think we have to think too much about it. I think it'll just come to us. We will know where we can be needed, where we can be of help to somebody, and to spread not vibrations of negativity and fear. There's enough of that, spread vibrations of love, spread vibrations of joy and appreciation for whatever we do have in our lives, and begin to just really tune into something, a much higher way of living, a way of just where everything, in spite of the bad, is good. We know that down the road it's going to turn out. And again, get rid of the worry. Let's get rid of the fear. Let's just tune in to a much higher calling, and a calling of just based on caring, based on connecting to each other, that we're all connected, not a feeling of they're different and let's separate from them, or let me be afraid of them, and just let's bring more love into the world. And, we can do that, we can do that and overcome the obstacles that we all face. And as we begin to think differently, I truly believe that the obstacles they just melt away and goodness happens and something magic happens in our lives. So I will close with a term that, people that know the Brahma Kumaris know this term well, Om Shanti. And I just want to also say that if you would like to know more about the many classes that we have, online classes that are starting up, then go to Brahma Kumaris, Miami BrahmaKumaris.org. Miami BrahmaKumaris.org. Go to the website and you can see the upcoming online events that are happening. We used to have lots of events happening at the center and even around town, but for now, we're going online, and we just want you to be part of us. And I know that over the years that I have learned so much from amazing Brahma Kumaris teachers from all over the world, especially from our head of the whole organization, who sadly just passed away, Daddy Janki, at 104 years old, who gave to everybody that she ever met. I don't think there's anyone that didn't take love from her inner peace and happiness. And she just passed away a week ago tomorrow. A week ago on Friday. And yes, tomorrow is Friday. It depends on where you are in the country, right? In the world. So again, I just leave you with thank you and Om Shanti.